It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Good morning. Welcome to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. It is a bright day, and it is time to talk about the word of the day. And the word of the day today is, take a guess, Dave Einstandig. What do you think the word of the day today is?
Blue.
Wrong. Jenny Lingo, nice to see you at the show.
Good
this
morning, Ken. Nice to be here.
Would you like to guess the word of the day?
Well, since Brian's holding, I guess I'm supposed to guess blue.
No, that's the color of the day.
Oh.
Brian?
He's showing us.
Would you like to guess
We're on the radio, Brian.
the word of the day?
Come on.
Bob.
That's great. Okay, the word of the day is FICO.
Wait a minute. Is that in the Scrabble Dictionary? Because they just released a new dictionary last
I do
week.
not know. I'm not a Scrabble
It's
player.
not in the Scrabble Dictionary. It's not a word.
It is a word. It's a
Not
noun.
a word.
Not every noun is in the Scrabble. Do
Oh,
names?
Huh?
Can you put like Gary,
No.
Ken,
Can?
Fred.
No.
Dave,
No.
Jenny?
No.
So
Blue.
you don't do nouns.
Just blue.
Or you don't do names, but you do nouns.
You can do nouns. Yeah, I think there's a few nouns in the Scrabble Dictionary.
I'm not a big Scrabble player. But can we talk about what we want to talk about here?
What
Seems
do-
as
what do
though
you wanna
we've
talk
already
about?
spent half the show on the word of the day because you guys think it's funny to not say FICO. FICO is the word of the day. We're going to explore in this segment the credit score. And the reason is there's been some recent developments, some big news announcement that came out with regard to changing the mix on the FICO score. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but so I thought it was a perfect time to really delve into the credit score. What is it? How it's determined? And how important is your credit score when it comes to talking about financial crisis management decisions?
I'm just pondering the difference between diving and delving. I just don't know. I'm just.
Sometimes you dive into a pool and you're knee deep in water.
Yeah. Oh,
or
is it
other-
water?
Or other,
Is it
other
water?
things.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
sometimes you delve into a topic. How's
Okay.
that?
Okay.
Why did I use both words?
I
in the
don't
same
know. I don't
sentence,
know.
or
It's
I
just-
don't know.
Well, it could also be dipping. You could be dipping your toe in the water.
We're going to talk about FICO and credit scores, guys.
Really?
Okay, if I have to close your mics down and just do the show by myself, so be
Well,
it.
Aren't you glad I'm back?
How is that different from any other week?
No, that's not true. Before we talk about FICO score, there was an interesting article I saw as the U.S. facing the dawn of a new debt crisis. And I thought it was, and I found this on a financial site, and it was, I was a little bit surprised by it, but it's got some interesting numbers. It doesn't really have any conclusions, but I think it's a good framework to talk about credit scores. About 35% of adults have a debt in collection reported in their credit file with an average, and they have average debt of over $5,000. This study focused on non-mortgage debt, including medical debt, utility bills, membership fees, and phone bills. Of that 35% figure, more than 1 in 3 Americans have been or are being collected on, and in some cases they don't even realize it, that they're in collection. It varies by state, and if you think, and what the point of the article was, the states that fell the farthest down and suffered the most in the financial crisis have the highest percentage of people in debt. Nevada leading that category with 47% of the population with debt in collections. That's an awfully high number. 35% statistic is annually marginal, is actually lower than it was a few years ago. It was 36.5 a decade ago. But the article makes a point that the mix of income and population is different. So they still think that the 35 now versus 35.6 of 10 years ago has greater significance. The other thing that's important is there's a growing number of people that are becoming financially distressed, and a survey of the U.S. and Canadian risk managers, those that are making the lending decisions, 43% of them expect delinquency to rise on all consumer loans. So even though the economy is clearly doing better, it doesn't mean that people on the individual side aren't suffering issues. And it kind of goes back to the same point that we always come to is the growth of the economy requires consumer spending. Consumer spending goes up when there's more credit made available for the consumer to spend. And what we are seeing right now is an easing of the credit, not in the mortgage credit necessarily, but in consumer credit card availability. And that will spur growth for the economy as they spend the money, but it drives people into debt. It's an unfortunate reality that for our economy to do well, we need the masses of people to spend, but the mass that ends up spending it is too often using debt to do it, and then that puts them into financial difficulty. So it's a tough situation. So now, in that background, let's talk about what is your FICO score. First of all, question, what does FICO stand for? Brian.
Fair Isaac's credit something or other.
Wrong. Had you read the outline at 1 o'clock
Fair Isaac
yesterday
Company.
morning, when I sent it to you, or this morning, you would know the answer is Fair Isaac Company.
I just said that.
You said something else. Credit. You threw in the word credit.
I forgot.
Okay.
It's all right,
Well,
because you know what? Because personally, I don't believe the FICO score makes a darn bit of difference in this whole world.
Fine. You go ahead. I said to myself when I wrote this outline, what is the chance of Brian trying to stay with the script and letting him make that statement when I want him to make the statement, which is 2 breaks away? I knew I said to myself, the chance of him not saying something before the first break that was off script was slim and none.
Well,
and I was right.
And Slim just left town.
Right. Slim just left out.
Premature.
We're going to come back to that. Now, if you want to attack FICO in terms of the acronym, it's an improper acronym. You're supposed to have 1 letter for each word. They took company, and that's the CO for FICO. Now, who's it? Where did the company come from? First of all, it's a credit score company. It was started by 2 guys, Bill Fair, who's an engineer, and Earl Isaac, who was a mathematician. They founded it with a $400 investment in 1956.
No, 400 each.
$400 each. $800 investment.
There you go.
I spent 2 hours trying to find a picture of Bill Fair and Earl Isaac, and I could not find one on their sites, Googling images, everything else.
They don't exist.
Well, you think maybe they didn't want their picture out there because people didn't like what they were doing with coming up with these credit scores or something? All the CEOs have their pictures. This guy named Lansing's all over the place. The company went public in '87. We're going to talk about FICO when we come back from the break.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
All right, I'm with Jenny Lingle, our tax guru from Thav Gross, and Brian Small, our bankruptcy and sometimes guru on some topics of some nature, and I'm Dave Einstanding from Thav Gross, our business guru. We're talking about FICO score. Just so to wrap up the history of the company, Earl Isaac was born August 7th, 1921, and died December 12th, 1983. I can only tell you that Bill Fair was also the co-founder of the company. He's under the radar. If anyone's listening and they can find it on Google and get some relevant information, call us at 248-848-1130 and share it with us, or email me the link at kengross@thavgross.com, because I would like to get a picture of Earl Isaac and Bill Fair to put up on the TV version
Earl
of the
didn't
show.
live too long.
No, it's only 62 years old. He obviously must have had a low FICO score and stressed out.
He was
or
he's
stroked out.
11 years younger than Eileen's grandma, who's still alive.
Oh, you mean if he was still alive?
Yeah,
but
the grandma.
he's not, because he died in 83.
Yeah.
That was, you know who was president in 83? Were you guys around in 83?
1983.
I believe Reagan was president.
Reagan.
Yes.
You know, he was born
Carter
in
was
67?
76 or 77 to 76 to
We don't
80.
want to go, and George Washington was the first president. We don't want to go through all of them.
Are you sure about that?
How is a credit score determined? Okay. Here are the factors. The three major ones that we always talk about. It's payment history, total amount owed, and length of credit history. But there's also two more. I'll give you the percentages. Payment history is 35%. Amounts owed are 30%. Length of credit history is 15%. New credit, 10%. Types of credit used, 10%. People always come and say, when we're talking about financial crisis issues, and we're exploring the possibility of either getting rid of debt through debt resolution or bankruptcy, you always, at some point in the conversation, you always hear the question, well, will this have a negative impact on my credit score? And so it's important to understand your credit score. The answer is, in virtually every case that you do something where the goal is to eliminate what I call reported debt, which is debt that is reported to the credit bureaus, your bank loans, your car payments, your credit cards, anything that a provider of credit wants to report to the credit bureaus, they can. It's a question of whether they pay the subscription fees in order to do that. But any bank institution, car lender, mortgage lender, credit card company, all reports to the credit card to the credit bureaus. That will obviously affect your credit score. The question is, how much is the effect, and is it worth? Is it the right move to make or not the right move to make? And that's where we're going. So the first thing you need to know is, how do they determine the score? Pay history is 35%. That's looking at, what's your history? Do you full pay? Do you minimum pay? Have you ever been late? How many times have you been more than 30, 60, or 90? If you full pay every month and you've never been late and you've had credit out there for 10, 15 years, you're going to score 100% on that particular category. If you pay less than full payment, but you make your minimum payments and you're always on time, then you're still in a better position. If you start missing payments, anytime your payment is 30 days late, you get dinged on your credit score.
Do they automatically report you 30 days, like your utilities, or maybe the credit card companies? I think they do internally have a grace period.
Normally it's 30 days is what it is. I think I don't know the specific answer to the question. My impression of that is the company has the right to report or not report at their own discretion, but most of them report, and they report on a 30-day cycle.
What's interesting, though, is that you asked about utilities, and utilities are a big factor for people because people tend to pay utilities late. DTE was in a controversy about reporting to the credit reports, and they still do report on the credit report, and your current bill will show up as to what you owe, and it'll show whether you're paid on time or not. Consumers does not report to the credit reports. And
So pay your DTE
your
bill on
DTE
time and let consumers slip.
Well,
but you're
your
still gonna incur the
DTE
late
bill,
fee.
your DTE bill though has a big impact. A lot of people find out that they can't get a mortgage
Because they're late on their
simply because they've been late on their DTE bill, because it still impacts them, especially when we talk later about how mortgages are 20 years behind the rest of everybody.
So you could install a windmill in the back of your house and just skip DTE
Well,
and go out and pedal the
but
windmill.
there's
to
a
generate
No,
electricity.
what
there's
it-
a basis for it. If you can't pay your utility bill on time, that's maybe indicative of stress.
Okay, but let's move on though. Okay.
You want to move on?
Yeah, I want to move on.
Let's move
All right.
on.
I want to
We're
talk
moving
about the big news that came out on August 7th with regard to how they're calculating the credit score, because that's the genesis of why I decided to cover the topic today. It was reported in the Wall Street Journal, but I read numerous articles about it because I was concerned initially that the reporting was not correct. But here are the big changes that were announced by FICO. First of all, up until now, all collection accounts were reported and remained on your credit report for 7 years, whether or not you paid off the debt. FICO, which controls 90% of the credit reporting credit score market, the other 10% is held by Vantage. Their version 9.0, their newest version that's coming out at the end of the year, settled debts will no longer be reported or carried on the report. This is a super big issue.
What's a settled debt?
If we're doing debt resolution for a client and we stop paying all the credit cards because there's $90,000 of credit card debt, and we settle them all for 20, 30 cents on the dollar. Once we reach the settlement with Bank of America at 30 cents on the dollar and we've paid the 30 cents on the dollar, at that point it's a settled debt. It will vanish from the credit report. It won't be reported as having gone delinquent and having settled for less.
So
even that is better than not paying it, but it's going to wipe it off. It's going to greatly. This is like a gift to the Financial Crisis Talk Center from FICO.
But the impact we'll
Good
have
news.
to
I mean,
see.
it's not a game changer, but it's good news.
But the impact we have to see, because an underwriter may look at the history, see it's
Well,
gone, and
there's-
that may be a different story.
There's more to there's more to the story.
Well,
right?
no. When you pull
Yeah.
a credit score, when you pull a credit report, when something's eliminated, you can't go back unless you've pulled the credit report before that and compare it. It's gone.
Okay.
It's
But it's a question
eliminated.
of which credit report you pull. That's what we're going to get
But
to.
more
shortly. Now, let me keep-
more interesting about that though, when you're talking about underwriting, is
We're kind of running out of time, so tell me what's interesting quickly.
I was just gonna say that it just might mean that the credit market's gonna tighten up, because if your credit score's higher and everybody's credit score's higher, aren't they gonna look to a new way to lend to you?
Well, hold that thought. But the question is, how quickly is this going to ever come into play? Is also going to be an issue. Vantage, by the way, which controls 10% of the month, already started not reporting these debts three months ago. We'll be back after the break.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances in contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
All right, welcome back. Let me do some quick announcements. If you're troubled with your house and you're facing foreclosure, we have a free report called How to Save Your Home with Regulation X, The Hidden Secrets. It's absolutely free. If you want a copy of it, go to regxhomesaver.com. That's regxhomesaver.com. You pop in the information, then we email it to you so that you have the report. It's got good information in terms of what you need to do, steps to take in order to put yourself in a position for a loan modification, slow the foreclosure process down. I want to thank our sponsors, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, REO Services, Alan Stalter Short Sale Specialist, Trips Auto Shop and Collision Center in Jackson and Lansing, and U.S. Staffing in Jackson and Lansing. We have a seminar coming up. It is our Get Back to Fall seminar, September 10th, 2014. I'm waiting for someone to yell at me about Get Back to Fall. What sense does that make? It's like your fall seminar, end of summer. The name of it is Get Serious About Debt Elimination. We're going to cover all current issues, including what we're talking about now with changes in FICO score. When we do a seminar, anything new developments that are out there come into play. For instance, a couple weeks ago, we announced that the state's now adopted its own offer and compromise program, so we'll be talking about that at the next seminar. Jenny will be focusing on it. So if you want to sign up for the seminar, it is on Wednesday, September 10th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Go to thavgross.com or financialcrisistalkcenter.com or call 888-235-HELP. We are also launching a new name and new format to the show called Law and Reality. That will be in the month of September. Dave's already put together the show opening, and we're tweaking it. We got to come up with we've got the music, we've got the format. We're getting the last touches, and that's going to be set to go. All right, back to FICO score. All right, the interesting thing about, well, let me just kind of run through with you some of the other quick facts. 106.5 million consumers have collection on their report. 9.4 million of those have no balance. For these 9.4 with no balance, that means that those accounts will be wiped off. So this is good news to those 9.4. It's also good news to people who are considering taking strategies to eliminate the debt. This means once you've eliminated the debt, it's going to be removed from your credit score. FICO 9.0 will also discount the weight that goes to medical bills that are placed in collection. This was the other half of the big announcement. And that's as a result of pressure from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're doing this. And that means if you have a medical bill in collection, although it'll be reported, it will not be dinging you on your credit score nearly as much. The estimate is if the only debts that you have on your credit, if you have debts on your credit report for medical bills that have not been paid, your score will probably go up about 25 points over the course of the next 6 months.
Doesn't this really just mean that if you're applying for credit, that an underwriter is going to actually have to do something beyond look at a score to see whether or not they're going to grant credit? They're going to actually look at who you owe and why you owe it, because it's still going to be on your credit report.
I think you can suggest that, but I don't think that we know that that's the case. I think that I think what it comes down to is this: the lenders rely a lot on the credit score and the credit report they receive. The question is also which one are they receiving? Right now, FICO 8 is the most widely used credit report by the lending issue. That's been available since July of 2009. It's up to the lenders to decide when they want to upgrade, pay the higher fee, and go to 9.0 from 8.0. Just like when we upgrade on a computer software program, we go from Windows 8 to Windows 8.1 or whatever. The only exception to that is the mortgage industry. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they dictate the model and the versions that can be used. Right now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are on the are one generation back. When 9.0 comes available, they're going to be 2 generations back, and until they dictate and require to go to FICO 9.0, the new changes won't come into effect when it comes to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines and underwriting. So in that case, the medical debt's still going to hurt you from the standpoint of a mortgage if it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac and accounts and collection.
Well, since Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are supposed to be eliminated somewhere down the road, it might not make a darn bit of difference in the long run.
But something's going to replace those institutions that are performing.
Yeah,
that.
something that's
and
far
right
more
now,
efficient.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are making a lot of money, so the genesis to remove them is kind of stepping back a little bit, and also we got. Administration has too many problems in its hands.
So what does this mean? What does this mean at the end of the day?
It means a lot, but I want to say we're coming to the end of the segment, so I want to carry this forward into the next segment of the Financial Crisis Talk Center. We'll do a case study at the end of the next segment, but we're going to carry forward the FICO score. So if you're watching the show on TV, you're going to have to carry over on the topic to next week to get the impact of what it means. But the next topic is, how does the FICO score play into the issue of should I settle or resolve my debt, and what's going to be the impact on my credit score? It's a big issue. And I start off in always the credit score is your pay history, the amount of debt, and the ratio kind of available debt to how much debt, available credit to the debt you have. When you stop paying your credit cards, your pay history takes a hit, and that's going to cause your credit score to go down. However, when you settle those debts, your aggregate amount of debt is going to decrease, and that's going to boost your credit score. Add in the 9.0 impact, which means the debts that are settled are going to be removed from your credit score, which means they won't negatively affect your pay history once they're settled. Your score will go up even faster.
Well, if I give you the analogy of what's the difference with grade inflation in high schools across the country, and now it's harder to get into U of M and MSU than it was when we applied, isn't it going to be the same thing?
That's what I was saying.
That's
earlier.
what you said. They'll just raise the bar and say you have to have a higher credit score.
Maybe.
It's always a maybe. But the bigger question, and we're going to get into it in the next segment, is should you be that worried about the credit score at all? I know people are wondering about it, but when we explore in the next session, we're going to say, does it really matter in the big picture of things? I mean, the question that you have to ask is, would I be better carrying the debt with a high credit score or getting rid of it? We'll be back with the next segment.